Now, one of the venues which recently hosted a cabaret drag-style event for parents and young children has vowed to continue hosting shows despite a growing campaign against them online. Viewers and listeners of GB News will know my opinion on this matter. I think it's inappropriate for adult entertainment to be performed in front of babies and young children. But I wanted to get a different perspective on this, so we've invited drag queen Vanity Von Glow onto the show. Tom, thank you very much for joining me.
Hello, nice to be here. This isn't the first conversation about appropriate behaviour that I've had with a man in a collar, so I'm looking forward to...
Interesting. I won't get into that. But what I will ask you is, do you think it's appropriate for drag acts to be performed in front of children?
Well, first of all, it's important for me to say, because I have made a defence of drag queen story art on this channel and others in recent times on the basis that drag queen story time in the UK, in the instances that I've seen it, is not a striptease-style burlesque show. That's a different conversation from the Kaba Baba Rave conversation that's in the news today, which I think is what we're talking about. So I just want to make that clear, they are slightly different.
I wouldn't recognise in what way the difference, so that might be...
Well, a striptease burlesque show, which is what the Kaba Baba Rave has, the videos that you've seen of people doing the splits and doing rope work and stuff, that's different from although I couldn't think of anything worse than reading to children, but if I were to sit and read books to a kid in an acceptable dress, that's a different type of show, right? I think there's a valid discussion about what's appropriate for young children in a liberal society, but we also have a society where parental discretion is a factor when it comes to whether or not their kids will listen to gangster rap or whether they're allowed to swear in the house or watch 18-rated movies or drink at a family wedding. And I think that for these mums who are enjoying a cabaret show that they can take their babies to and have them present, while it's OK to have a conversation about whether or not that's appropriate, there's been a quantum leap to this makes me feel uneasy and it's inappropriate to the language of this is grooming, this is paedophilia, this is child abuse. And that's the part of it that concerns me.
OK, I'm with you. So parents do have a lot of responsibility. I agree with you on that. Society as a whole also has a bit of a responsibility there. But to the question of is this grooming, is this paedophilia, I think people would ask, well, what is the motivation? Why are these burlesque-style, strip-style acts being performed in front of children? I mean, we could say parents shouldn't take them there, but why are they happening in the first place? Why would the performers want to do that?
Well, careful not to speak on behalf of young mothers, but I'm aware that a lot of the mums attending that Kaba Baba Rave are sick of reading the wheels on the bus to their kids. You know, they've been locked up for 2 years because of a pandemic. They were gestating for 9 months. They want to go out and have a drink with their fellow mums during the day when they don't have to hire a babysitter and watch the type of shows they used to watch before they had a baby. So I can understand why a 20 or 30-something mum would enjoy the show and would think this is something that isn't going to have a terrible, long-lasting traumatic effect on a baby who doesn't actually have a clue what it is that they're watching. You know, I know some of the performers that are involved in this particular show, and I'm worried about the hyperbole of suspicion around their intentions. What could they possibly want to do? They're performers. They enjoy performing. You know, I'm sure you would sympathise with this, that there are some people on the progressive left for whom it sticks in their craw to condemn the death threats that J.K. Rowling faces. They just can't bring themselves to condemn those death threats. I don't struggle to condemn death threats, and I condemn the death threats against these performers from people that are calling them paedophiles and groomers. Would you be comfortable condemning that type of...
Nobody should receive death threats, absolutely. But the problem I face is that I can't show on this TV show right now, I cannot show any of the footage of the stuff we're talking about because it is deemed inappropriate for this time of the day. I'm literally not legally allowed to show it.
Well, that's because...
However, people are taking babies and toddlers and young children to these shows.
Well, a broadcaster is held to a higher standard...
Shouldn't society be held to that same high standard?
Well, I think it's OK to have the discussion about that, about what is appropriate. You know, I wouldn't do this type of show myself. I don't perform striptease in my show, thank God. You know, I'm a singer, a pianist, a comic. Strangely enough, here I am defending, to some extent, these types of shows because even though I'm not involved with them, and it's not the type of show I do, I think that there's almost a bad faith suspicion that underpins the concern that some people are expressing about it. And that kind of worries me in a more broad societal sense because You know, I've faced down cancel culture mobs myself. I think that cancel culture gives a free pass to righteous mobs, and that's what this has the flavour of for me.
I've campaigned heavily against cancel culture.
Yeah.
However, I'd be very cautious of anyone saying what you just said, because it sounds like gaslighting. We should always be suspicious of people that want to spend time around young children, most especially when they're half nude and or doing some kind of burlesque act. Of course we should be suspicious. And to not be suspicious, I think, would be negligent of us as adults.
What is it that you think that... also interesting, because it's a cabaret show. Obviously, I'm a cabaret artist. Part of cabaret, I work in this drag.
I imagine you perform for over 18s.
Yeah, my shows are in bars and clubs and nightclubs.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of weddings, and there's sometimes kids at weddings, but the type of show you do at weddings, I'm coming out and singing Celine Dion, The Power of Love, and everybody cries.
Well, just one last question before you go, because there was a drag act that performed, well, actually taught sex ed in a school and taught kids that there were 73 genders, and actually sent a kid out for saying, no, there are 2 genders. Do you think that's appropriate?
Well, the 72 genders thing isn't the church I pray at. I mean, in a liberal society, we're all allowed to have our faith systems. My faith, by the way, is Shania Twain and Celine Dion.
Well, thank you. I've got to move on, but Tom, thank you for sharing your perspective today. It's been very helpful. That was drag queen Vanity Von Glow. We reached out to the Vault Festival, the organisers of the drag show. They gave this response to some of the criticisms they've received. Quote, "We are aware of comments on social media directed at Kaba Baba Rave, part of the 2023 Vault Festival programme. The cabaret show is designed for parents with sensory moments for babies and is a fun and welcoming space for parents and with young babies. Vault Festival exists to support live performance and artistic talent and is proud to platform events that are welcoming and accessible for all, with audience safety always as a top priority. We stand against the inexcusable threats of violence and assault and against our programmed artists, our staff, and directed at the LGBTQ+, IA+ community, and are supporting the affected artists." There's another letter in there now. Each week on the show, we like to end with a closing prayer, and here is our collect for the second Sunday in Lent.